Hello, Susan here. I have never done a YouTube live before. This is my first try, so I hope you can hear me and see me and it's working out the way one would hope, which includes being able to see and or hear. If you are watching and you could let me know in comments that I'm audible and visible, that would be great. But otherwise, I'm just going to start. I want to offer some thoughts for working with difficult emotions and anxiety from the Buddhist point of view. And if you're just joining, I'm delighted. I've never done a YouTube live before, as I mentioned. So please do let me know if you can, that you can see me or hear me. That would be great. I won't ask that again. I'm going to plow ahead. So we're going, I have 3 suggestions for ways of working with inner anxiety from a Buddhist point of view, or one particular Buddhist point of view. And then I want to lead a short breath awareness meditation. Oh, thank you, Eileen, very much. I want to lead a short breath awareness meditation. This whole thing will probably take about 30 minutes. So if you're trying to figure out what to do with your time, now you know. Let me just start by saying, I hope you are well. I hope you are feeling cared for, and I hope those you love are also safe and well. So in Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism in particular, which is the second of the 3 major turnings of the teaching turnings, that was an awkward way of saying, there are 3 main schools of Buddhist thought. The Mahayana is the middle. It means the greater vehicle. And it doesn't mean it's better. That's not what is meant by greater. It means, the way I interpret it is, it includes you in the greater world. It includes you and others. Mahayana teachings are about loving kindness and compassion and situate you in the greater world. That's why I think it's called the greater vehicle. One of the core teachings in the Mahayana are the 6 paramitas. Paramita, Paramita, or 6 transcendent actions. I want to discuss 3 of them today. The first 3. Transcendence implies going somewhere. Where do you start and where do you go? Which is an important question. Where do these actions take you? They take you to the other side. They take you from the shores of insanity and cruelty and chaos to the shore of safety and ease and kindness to all. Now that's a big journey, especially right now. But it is totally possible to make it. And if you imagine that you are in a rowboat and there are 6 oars people, each one is holding one of these paramitas, and they have the power to convey you to the other shore. Don't take my word for it, or anything really. Hear about them and see for yourself. So the first teaching, the first paramita or transcendent action is the ground for all the other 5. Without this first one, the likelihood that the subsequent paramitas will row you ashore to the other side is limited. So it's an important one, excuse me. The first paramita is called generosity. Without generosity, it is very, very hard, perhaps even impossible, to be of benefit to others. It is also impossible to be of benefit to yourself, which is where it starts. So generosity means, we all know what that means, some kind of a basic willingness to give. Now, for us in the West, at least speaking for myself, the admonition to be generous can easily be misinterpreted as the suggestion that you put yourself last. And that is not what is meant by generosity. Generosity must begin with yourself. And otherwise, whatever you extend to others will be more transactional and less meaningful. Generosity is rooted in a sense of your innate richness. So in other words, when you are in contact with everything that is wonderful about you, as much as possible, that you, first of all, you can see, you can hear, you can speak. Those are wonderful things. You care about this world, you care about yourself, you care about others. You wouldn't be listening to this otherwise. When your gestures of generosity stem from that, for I have so much, then what you offer is without uh, is free. You have to, because you have so much. You're like, oh, sure, I can afford to give all this away because I've got so much more, which you do. So in the Buddhist view, there are generosity can take three forms, and I'll just go over them very briefly. They're all very important right now. Any spiritual teaching that speaks to you is very important right now. So the first form of generosity is called giving material things. It's pretty straightforward. You give, if someone is cold, you give them a sweater. If someone is hungry, you could give them some food. If someone is poor, you could give them some money. Just something is needed, and if you can give it, you do. And that transaction is complete. The first form of generosity is very, very practical. I just give what's needed. And at this particular moment in time, it is very important that we each ask ourselves, what can I give? What can I offer? And it could be anything from I'm going to find the cure for coronavirus to I'm going to call my relative and see how she is and check in with him or her. So this gift of material goods can take any form. The second form of fearlessness, the second form of generosity is called giving the gift of fearlessness. Very, very important, extremely important right now because we're all afraid. And the gift of fearlessness doesn't look like, hey, it's okay, don't worry, you're fine, we got this, there's nothing to worry about. That would be called giving the gift of insanity, because we all have to be very careful right now. So the gift of fearlessness isn't the gift of making up stories about how everything's going to be okay. The gift of fearlessness begins, I would say, with examining and allowing your own fear. That doesn't sound fun, I totally get that. But when you are unafraid of your fear, that transmits fearlessness. So that's a good place to start. Examine your own fear. A warrior, it is said, is one who is not afraid of themselves. So you could start there. And that lack of fear of your own fear plants the seeds of fearlessness, certainly for yourself, but also for those who come in contact with you. Don't take my word for that or anything. Try it yourself and see. The third and final form of generosity that I want to mention is giving the gift of Dharma or wisdom. So it's easy to think that means, well, let me tell you what to do. Or, yeah, I've been there. I know this is what helped me. Okay, that might be useful. But here, Dharma or wisdom means what you actually know yourself to be true, because it comes from your experience, not something you read, not something someone else told you, not something you wish was true, but something that you know because you have experienced it personally. That's the only kind of knowing that matters in the Buddha Dharma. So giving the gift of Dharma means sharing what you actually know, and you should be sure of it because there's a lot of uncertain things being shared these days. The second step that you can take is called discipline. Generosity, the first paramita, without discipline, the second paramita, just becomes a kind too loosey-goosey. And discipline, without generosity, becomes kind of militaristic. So in the Buddhist view, discipline simply means, among other things, the ability to come back to what is of interest to you, to what you're doing, to what is important to you. So if you meditate, you know how to do that. You may know how to do it anyway, obviously. You're focusing on something and then you get distracted and then you come back. That's the definition of discipline that I would like to offer you. It is very simple. It's the willingness and capability to come back to the matter at hand. Very, very important. Right now, some important disciplines for me that I are, are bolstering me and making me feel stronger are very, very simple disciplines, but they actually have the power to change everything. The Buddha didn't say these things, by the way. The other things come from the Buddha Dharma, but this is my own experience. And what I was taught actually as a student of Buddhism as three important ways to develop confidence. And there are three disciplines. The first is the discipline called cleaning up your space. And it is very tempting at a time when we're just stuck at home and afraid to let our environment go. You can see my environment is not particularly pristine, but when it is in disorder and I set it to rights, whether by washing the dishes or putting things away, that has an immeasurable effect on my state of mind. Like I can't really say because I washed the dishes, my spirit was, one dish stronger. But setting your environment to right gives you an environment from which you can draw power. Don't take my word for that. The second suggestion after clean up your space, and it doesn't mean be a neat freak, and if you are, you have to like Marie Kondo your whole life, just means get some order going in where you spend the most time, or clean it up completely. The second is called wear nice clothes, which doesn't mean fancy clothes or fashionable clothes, obviously. It means perhaps clean clothes, something that you feel good wearing, something that feels good on your skin, something that when you put it on, you think, oh, I like that color, I like that fit, whatever it is. When you pick your sweats up off the floor, you go into your world, which may be your living room right now, with one state of mind. But when you take something out of a drawer that is clean and put it on and go into that same living room, it is with a different state of mind. These are very simple, ordinary, everyday things that we can do. And it's not about being a perfectionist or, an Instagram influencer. It's just about, care about yourself, care about your body. And the third and final step that I want to mention is eat good food. Now, this does not mean healthy or paleo or put yourself into ketosis or become a vegan. It doesn't mean any of that. It means eat food of the highest quality that you can procure right now, given your circumstances and your budget. So if you are a vegan, and you can get fresh vegetables right now, great, enjoy those. If you're a carnivore and you want to eat a hamburger, see if you can make yourself a really good hamburger. So I'm not saying anything about diets. I'm just saying, look at the quality of your food and do what you can to make it as high as possible. So these things, our space, our clothing, what we feed ourselves with, have the power to rouse confidence. So we don't have to always crank it up from within. Oh, yeah, you're awesome. It's okay. Okay. But you can actually create a world around yourself that gives you confidence. And these three steps go a long way to doing that. Don't take my word for that. And the third and final gesture of mind that you can make, the third of the 6 paramitas, is called patience. And I'll just say a few things about that briefly, and then we'll practice together for a few minutes. Patience, some people are naturally gifted with patience. Some people are naturally gifted with impatience. It doesn't mean that one person is better than the other, although patience is definitely much more positive. But it's just a matter of wiring, it seems. That's my observation. In the Buddhist teachings, there is a secret to patience. I've tested it many times. It is without flaw. It works. It's kind of guaranteed. What could it be? One may be wondering. It's also kind of impossible. So I'll just stick that in there too. The secret to indestructible patience is having no expectations. With no expectations, what is there to be impatient about? You just flow with what is. Now, I'm not saying you become like a weird hippy dippy flowy person who doesn't have a lot of leap to get done, because we all have a lot of shit to get done. So I'm not saying you just get all flaky, but what you do encounter, this person made me mad, this person made me happy, this turned out the way I wanted, this did not turn out the way I want. You sort of loosen the expectation for what you thought was going to happen, and then see what is available to you in terms of patience. So that's the secret / impossible direct path to patience, is having no expectations. In the Buddhist view, patience can take 3 forms. The first form is called overcoming others' aggression, because the opposite of patience is aggression. Impatience is a form of aggression. I don't want it to be the way it is. I want it to be different. I'm not saying we shouldn't work really hard for things we think are right. Obviously, we should. But when we have patience, it's much more likely that we're going to be able to accomplish our important tasks. First, overcome other people's aggression, which doesn't mean meet their aggression with aggression. That does not overcome aggression. It means make space in some way to hear, to listen, to be with, not to agree, not to be nice. You can hate the person, but making room somehow for who they are and what they're saying is the way to overcome the other person's aggression. And then the second suggestion is to realize the nature of that aggression. Why are they feeling that way? You may be able to find out, you may not, but when you do find out, quite often impatience is diminished. And then the third aspect of patience is called individually examining. Now, this is very important, even though it sounds very simple. It means you don't make assumptions about others based on what others did. You take each circumstance as it comes. So we're human beings. We think, oh, I'm going to call so-and-so and they're going to give me the runaround because every other time I've called them, they have. Well, maybe they will, but maybe they won't. So individually examining means letting go of your assumption about what will happen and seeing instead what does happen. So we see the results in our world of an inability to examine individually when people say things like about other races, ethnicities, genders, religions, oh, they're this, you know, that's very bad. So we want to individually examine people and circumstances. And I'll just tell you a short story, very brief, and then we'll practice about how I found these 3 aspects of patience come into play, and I didn't even realize it. Overcoming another's aggression, realizing the nature of that aggression, and individually examining. So this was a long time ago. I have been sending out free meditations once a week to thousands of people for like 5 years, and it had become my full-time job. It's called the Open Heart Project. And I realized, well, I have to earn money at my full-time job. So I said, hey, everybody, instead of sending out 1 million meditations, I'm going to send 500,000 meditations for free. And if you want to keep getting, regular meditations from me as you were before, I'm going to start charging for it for $27 a month. And 90% of the people didn't just on my list, they just didn't respond. That's cool. I don't know what they thought. Some small percentage said, okay, here's $27, Susan. And some even smaller percentage got very angry at me. And one woman messaged me and said, I'm going to cuss right now. You bitch. This was the bait and switch. I cannot believe it. You're a liar. You're a cheat. I trusted you. I thought you were a spiritual person, but now I see you're not. And you can just, if this is upsetting, I'm sorry. You can just go laugh with your friends, Oprah and Deepak, which are not my friends, by the way. So that was very upsetting and hurt my feelings a lot. And in the conventional wisdom realm, the idea would be, okay, just delete that. But I didn't. Instead, I messaged this person back and said, this really hurt me. It really hurt me. Your words hurt me. Words have consequences, and yours really impacted me and hurt my feelings a lot. And then I didn't think I'd hear from her again, but I know it's a her from the name. And then I did hear back from her almost immediately. And she said, well, you hurt my feelings too, because I've come to rely on these meditations and I can't afford them. And so now they're gone and I am upset. Well, that's very different. You hurt my feelings is different than you bitch, you lying bitch. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So you can't afford this? Well, can you afford $1? Okay, let's do it. So in other words, all the aspects of patience came into play, not by anyone being nice or like, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. None of that was in there. It was overcoming someone's aggression, in this case, by being genuine. You hurt me. Realizing the nature of their aggression. Well, she told me, well, you hurt my feelings, so I got mad. And then individually examining. It's like, oh, there may be other people that think I'm a lying bitch, but this person actually has these particular reasons for being upset. So that's a very short and perhaps not very elegant story about the paramita of patience and how it plays out in real life. So I hope this is useful. Tomorrow, I will come back with the second 3 paramitas, which are called exertion, mindfulness, and wisdom. But for now, let's do a short sit together. Let's meditate together for 5 minutes. So this meditation is a breath awareness meditation. And it's very, very simple. It's so simple, it's hard to believe that that's all there is to it. But trust me, this is all there is to it. And the power of meditation comes from respecting the simplicity of the technique. Cannot say that too many times. So there are 3 things in the practice: your body, your breath, and your mind. Those are the 3 things that you are. You can't take any one of those things out. That's how simple this is. Only your body, only your breath, only your mind. We're not adding breath techniques. We're not adding visualizations. Those are great. But right now we're going for the simplest possible thing. And that is you being you, breathing and having a mind. So you're welcome, Eileen. Let's look at the body first. We'll sit up straight. That's all you have to do. Sitting up straight is like a knock on the door for our inner elegance. Oh, someone's calling me. I'll sit up straight. I think I might have frozen. I will come back with the meditation because I think I froze. Apologies. I'm frozen. Okay, so sit up straight, basically. Let your hands rest on your legs, palms down. And let your shoulders relax. In times of difficulty, you can feel like, there's so much I have to do and worry about. You lean forward, or there's so much to be afraid of, I want to avoid it. And you lean back, literally or energetically. And here we're just sitting up, not forward, not back. Breathing is natural, in and out through the nose, unless you have a cold. There's no breathing technique, in other words. And the eyes are open in this particular practice, and the gaze is cast down to a spot in front, whatever feels comfortable. And the reason the eyes are open is because this is a practice of wakefulness. And we need to be awake right now. And it's easier to be awake when your eyes are open. Next is your breath. So we're not noticing the breath, actually, we're just feeling it. Feel the inhale and feel the exhale. That's all. And the mind will continue to make thoughts. Excellent, no problem. No effort to stop that or change that. Let your mind be as it is. And if you notice you get completely distracted, so you no longer aware of your breath, excellent. Let go. Come back and resume attention on breath. So we'll just sit together like this for a minute or two. To bring your practice to a close, stop meditating and please accept my wishes. May you be safe, may you be healthy, may you be cared for, may you be peaceful.